Hey, Shalom Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Akwath and listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of wanted to go through the short couple um, precepts in Daniel, the 6th chapter, in just regards to captivity, etiquette, conducting yourself, on day to day, and basically just around peers in the workplace, and sometimes, these are little things that we probably tend to, might ignore, but these also, I don't know where I heard this, but essentially having manners and manners going a long way. So just along those lines, and here how Ratisa this lesson be edifying, right? So what I wanted to do, excuse me, I wanted to start off with the word etiquette. So let me just see if I can get the word in the etymology, and then I'll read a little bit here. Okay, so etiquette, it says prescribed behavior. It says, that's pretty much it. It has. Let me see if let me just go back here. It says, so I'm looking on Google, and it says, hold on. It says the customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. The rules of etiquette are changing. So it says similar protocol, polite behavior, good manners, acceptable behavior. Let's see, it says good form, courtesy, politeness, civility, formalities. It says punctilios. Oh, hold on. Let me click on that. I never heard of that word. It says punctilio. Both counsel and judges follow the punctilios of court procedure and conduct. Okay, so that's the example. It says a fine or petty point of conduct or procedure. I'm guessing that's where you get the word punctuality. So it says customary behavior. So right then and there, we have customary behavior that's part of our culture, right? We have these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? And that keeps us groomed. That keeps us essentially in a state of mind where we don't. Um, it keeps us not acting like degenerate plants, so to speak. We act as upright individuals. Like for example, the scriptures say a man shall be known by his walk. So the way we conduct ourselves, right, especially amongst the peers and these people in the world, right? So, because I mentioned that in regards to the law, statutes, and commandments, let me start off with the book of Deuteronomy. Then I'll read a little bit about Daniel, right? This is Deuteronomy 4, verse 5, and it says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord Yahweh my power commanded me, that ye shall do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people, right? So this is what makes us stand out as Israelites, right? But we know a lot of our people don't actually adhere to this understanding or see the benefit of adhering to this understanding. It's a manner of character and conduct, right? Part of, now if I'm going to be honest with you, Akim, When we wake up to this, sometimes when we wake up to this understanding, a lot of us, we get into that cycle of red pill rage, essentially, like they call it the manosphere, right? Like with much wisdom, there's much grief, and essentially it comes off, and we start to essentially become a lion in our house, not just our physical house, but like where we work. And right, that's something we don't want to um like we don't want that leaven to fester within us, right? What we want is to be able to be essentially somebody who's peaceable. Let me go back to the definition here. Someone who's knowledgeable, someone who has good manners, someone who is civil, someone who is subordinate, like you're not like difficult or anything like that, someone who has decorum, right? Because that's part of, also being a king, right? A king has, certain decorum, they conduct themselves a certain way. We're not peasants, we're not niggas, we're not bitches. We're not, we're Israelites, right? That's part of the customary behavior, right? So, okay, let me get Daniel, just to because I keep, saying it, because these couple precepts here stuck out to me, and I just thought I would just do this as what's it called? Customary behavior, being in the midst of captivity, right? We know that we're subject to payments, yes, but at the same time, we don't conduct ourselves as niggas. We don't behave and start wiling out and crashing out like young niggas, basically, right? So this is Daniel chapter 6, verse 1, and it says, "It seemed good to Darius." I'm reading in the AMP. "It seemed good to Darius, who became king of after Belshazzar, to appoint over the kingdom 120 satraps, who would be in charge throughout the kingdom," right? So satrap, when you go into that word satrap, just a little fun fact, it's basically kind of like a governor, who looks over these different provinces, right? And this was during that time of that second beast that you read about in Daniel, the 7th chapter, right? So a satrap would be like a governor that's over like a satrapy, and a satrapy would basically is just like another word for province, you can say. Just a little fun fact. Um, okay, I'll read the KJV first, just so it's clear and concise, right? So, verse 2, and it says, "And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Then this pleased Daniel, was excuse me. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and the princes, because of an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm," right? So the king, he had essentially, Daniel had an excellent spirit upon him. He had the spirit of the Lord over him, and it made him, like, visible. It made him, essentially, like a man of value in that time, kind of like how Joseph was a man of value and of substance, especially being in the midst of captivity, right? This is continuing on, and it says, "And the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and the princes thought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but could find none occasion nor fault. For as much he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him," right? So is essentially his conduct and his behavior was just on point, right? He conducted himself in a certain way, and that's a good um example to just to like meditate upon. And if I'm going to be honest, for myself, I've been in a moment where um if because of certain events, I had a root of bitterness that I had to essentially purge out so I can be more and establish and work on more of that decorum, right? That was one of the things that, one of the things I personally had to work on. So, one of the things, for example, I had to strive on to maintain that excellent spirit, being in the midst of captivity, being in the midst um, of Israelites and heathens, surrounded, like for example, in the workplace, was to essentially exemplify the spirit of Yahweh, right? By just for example, being something as simple as constantly trying to be punctual, right? Making sure I'm on time, making sure establishing having good manners, just being peaceable, like Paul. As a matter of fact, let me get that, as like Paul talked about, because sometimes as we get caught up in like the heavier things, knowing the, wanting to know the breakdowns, and this doesn't take away from knowing the breakdowns. This is not me taking away from the importance of knowing the breakdowns, but sometimes we tend to forget the importance of that sincere milk, right? And then actually having um that what's it called, basically that sincere milk in a nutshell, right? We're on time, we're cordial with people, not everybody, you may not be chummy with everybody, but essentially you're peaceable with everybody. As a matter of fact, I said it, but let me just get it. Okay, this is Romans 12. um I'll just get straight to the point. Romans 12, verse 18, and it says, if it be possible that as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. In the in the AMP, it says, if possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Right. So we don't go into mentality, in the workplace of trying to be a brawler, trying to bring out scriptures, trying to essentially you're kind of like in that warrior mode where you're unsheathing your sword and you're swinging it around and all that kind of stuff. We don't go into these different spaces with that sort of mentality. We go into these different spaces actually maintaining a sense of decorum. We go into these different states having a sense of politeness. Going into these spaces, maintaining a sense of being civil and being peaceable, right? Not trying to allow the ministry be blamed, so to speak. We're not seen. We don't want to seem like people who are unruly. We want to seem like people who are just okay. You keep to yourself, you do your work, and then you go home, right? That's pretty much it, right? But sometimes, with the red pill rage, I'm guilty of this. We get caught up in with that mindset of we might get caught up with that mindset of feeling bitter sometimes, not wanting to be around people. Of course, I'm not neglecting the fact that being around these people is draining, and being around these people is sometimes very vexing because of the kind of conversations they have, right? But at the same time, it's just maintaining a sense of pride in conduct and decorum in the way we conduct ourselves in a civil manner, right? Because back at the end of the day, we're Israelites, right? We're not niggas, right? That's nigga culture. Niggas behave that type of way. Niggas want to start be a brawler, especially in a professional setting, right? We're not niggas, and this is something that our people lack and don't understand, right? They don't care about essentially their reputation. You know, I remember watching, for example, I remember seeing this one clip on YouTube, and this woman, um, she decided to resign in a very, very ill-mannered way by paging essentially all of her managers over like a PA system, right? And essentially, what she did in the long run is she created an unreasonable situation for herself by staining her reputation, right? So that's not something we want to do, right? So let me go to um, the book of Titus. Just bear with me. Okay, this is the book of Titus, chapter 3. Um, Verse 1, and it says, "Put them in mind to be subject to principalities, to powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready to every good work, to speak no evil of no man, to be no brawlers, but gentle, showing all meekness unto all men. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures, living in malice, envy, hateful, and hating one another. But after that, the kindness and the love of the Most High and our Savior Yahushua toward man appeared, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy he hath saved us by washing of regeneration and renewing of the Holy Spirit, right? So we don't conduct ourselves and showing and then essentially feeding into that lust of trying to be a brawler, be somebody who is trying to be shisty. We conduct ourselves in an upright fashion, especially amongst these different heathens, right? And amongst the people, especially in a professional setting, right? And sometimes that can go, that can be a benefit also, you know. Like for example, I'll hit you with this example here. Okay, this is Luke 16:9, and it says, and Yahushua said, "And I say unto you, make yourselves friends of mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations," right? So, a lot of these people, you can even just be having a peaceable, cordial relationship. Not like a close relationship, obviously, but like you have a peaceable relationship with them. A person like that can be an asset to you in a time of trouble. You might, for example, like if you lost a job, for example, and you needed, and you have somebody in the world that you're cordial with, and this person can probably look out for you to help you. The Lord can use that person to help you to find some other kind of resource to to kind of like help you out in a time of trouble, right? Like that's just thinking in the long run, right? We don't want to seem like um like unruly zealots. We don't want to seem like people who are just uncultured, uncultivated, right? This is part of our culture, cultivation as Israelites. We're not being cultivated in the vibration of black people or savages or Hispanic and all these different bywords that got placed on us. Like that's bad cultivation. When you look at the culture within how our people behave in the workplace, not in the workplace, but in the world as a whole, they're cultivated as a bunch of degenerate plants. They have a bunch of thorns around them, they got weeds. Like if you think about a plant that you're caring for and you're nurturing, it has all these different vines growing out. It's got dead leaves on the side. Some branches need to be pruned and stuff like that. That's the majority of our people in the world, right? Because they're poorly cultured, right? We want to be essentially a pleasant vineyard to the eyes, right? You walking on a spring day, and you see somebody's yard, and the soil is well puffed up, it looks rich, it looks well watered. We want to be, plants of righteousness, so to speak, right? And that's, and seeing that is admirable, right? That's why people tend to kind of gaze at us, so to speak, you know so this is Philippians. I guess I'll end it off here. Okay, this is Philippians 2 verse 15. I read it in the AMP, and it says, "So that you may prove yourselves to be blameless and guileless, innocent and uncontaminated, children of the Most High, without blemish, in the midst of a morally crooked and spiritually perverted generation," right? And this is this is the generation that we're living in. The majority of our people are crooked, and they're spiritually dead. Ezekiel said, can these bones live? Right? This is the mindset and the culture that we're seeing, that's being poorly cultivated by Babylon the Great. They're cultivating a bunch of YNs, a bunch of clone Tyrones, a bunch of children that are disobedient to parents, that are insubordinate. They're difficult to work with, right? A bunch of ungodly children, right? So, um, just to end off, it says, "Among whom ye are seen as bright lights, beacons shining out clearly in the world of darkness," right? And that's an example of how Daniel was conducting himself in the midst of captivity, right? So, anyways, I guess I'll leave it off there, but just some proper etiquette, just for good exhortation. I myself, I've been very, very guilty of being bitter, right? But purging out those things so we can actually be proper trees of righteousness, right? So being able to perform, right? And then being able to essentially be that light, in the midst of a perverse nation, right? So, anyways, I'll leave it there. But Lord's will, as always, hopefully this lesson was edifying. I'd just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.